Happy warm, cozy Wednesday. That's what I decided to call today. Warm, cozy Wednesday. Today we're talking about wasting time getting instruments out, how to include them without taking your whole class time. Because let's face it, especially when you're working with younger students, they love using the instruments, and I love being able to use them too. But sometimes it feels like, man, how are we going to get anything else done? We have so much else to do. I only get to see them once or twice a week, right? And so how do I incorporate instruments without feeling like I'm taking the whole class just to do that? So here's a couple ideas for you. Depends on the instrument. I should introduce myself in case you're new. My name is Andrea Oram. I am a homeschool music teacher, pre-K through 12th grade, and then I teach some adults and private lessons and all sorts of things. But I love making music teaching feel simple and successful, even if you don't have a music degree. And I love helping guide people from moving from public school, moving to freelance. Now, that's not a requirement, obviously, but if people are considering that and like testing the waters out and seeing if that can fit them, that's what I did. So that is one of my specialties, and I love being able to mentor and guide people through that process. So a little bit about me, but let's get into the instrument talk because it's needed. So there's a couple different ways you could structure this, and it really depends on how your classroom is set up. If you're talking about the big instruments like the Orff instruments, xylophones, metallophones, all of those ones, that can feel like a process, right? And it depends on a variety of things. It depends on your storage system. It depends on, there's just so much involved, right? So this might apply differently to you depending on your setting, if you're on a cart versus classroom and what type of storage you have. But I was blessed at the last school I was at to have some pretty great storage. And so what I did is I taught the students my system. I had a certain system for how each instrument had a place. Each type of instrument was set up to get out. And so at the beginning of the year, I took a lot of time, probably a whole class period, to teach the kids how to take them out, play them a little bit, put them away, take them out, play a little bit, put them away. And we usually only did it 2 or 3 times really close together in the first few weeks so that they could get some practice with learning how to actually do that. And some of them I had to stack on top of each other, so I helped with that. But I always had looked for the most responsible students. And I would say that I'm looking for a really responsible student to carry those ones safely over here so that we don't break an instrument and so that they get back safely where they're supposed to go. And my students were always super excited to volunteer and be that responsible student to do that. Here's another example. I would use ukuleles. And so I had a system for how they were set up in the storage room. I actually was blessed with enough storage that they could be out of a case and laying flat on shelves every other way. So neck out, the neck in, the neck out, every other on the shelves for all 30 of the classroom ukuleles. So I taught my students the system for putting them away. It didn't matter where they went. They didn't have an assigned spot, but they learned how to put them every other. And I usually had one student who was responsible and could check and make sure they were put in appropriately on the shelves. And the rest would go in by number. So I had each ukulele numbered on the back of the head of it so they could know when it was their turn. So I would call a certain group of numbers and a few kids would go in each time, and it really was slick. It was really pretty simple. It only took like 1.5 minutes to 2 minutes or less for them to get them out and for them to put them away safely. So it actually was really useful for being able to teach them those systems. And then once those systems are in place, it's pretty smooth sailing, right? And we can choose, maybe we will spend the whole classroom time on instruments, or maybe we won't. But either way, the system was smoother, okay? Here's another idea for more classroom instruments, auxiliary instruments. Only get out 1 or 2 and use them for a specific activity so it doesn't take a long time to get them out. So here's an example. This is a Cabasa, for those of you who maybe don't know. And I have lots of poems and finger plays and stuff that I teach my students. So I use an instrument and I'll pass the instrument around. So here's an example. Engine, burn, going down Chicago line. See it sparkle, see it shine. Engine, burn, shine. So I'll show them and then I'll ask them to model what it looks like to play. So they'll go like this. And I'll be like, okay, those students know how to do it. And we'll probably have about half of the class have turns. While I say it, they play. So they get a structured amount of time to play. They're practicing steady beat, all sorts of things like that. This is great for like pre-K through 2, works super great. And then if they didn't get a turn that day, I actually use my seating chart or my classroom, what's it called? Grade book. That's the word I needed. My grade book list. I will check off that they had a turn, but sometimes I'm even taking a preliminary assessment on whether they're keeping the steady beat or playing the classroom instrument correctly. So I'm able to have dual purpose. They got a turn, and I can check in who got a turn, and I can look and see, oh, I'm going to pass to a student who is sitting in such a way, or I'm passing to a student whose voice is off. And so I can use the motivation that they're excited to play an instrument to also help with my classroom management. So that's a really easy way. It took 2 seconds for me to get one instrument out, and it was an exciting thing to add to our lesson. And we included it. Didn't take time at all. It took maybe 5 minutes for me to show how to the instrument, and then maybe 5 minutes for half of them to have a turn. Depends on how many students you have in the class. Or maybe 10 minutes. But either way, we only used a little bit of our time to do that. They were excited to play, and they got some instrument time. So those are some really quick examples of ways that I don't waste time getting instruments out, but I'm able to maximize my classroom time using them, and I don't necessarily have to use them for the whole class period. So if that is like, man, I really like that idea. I like being able to learn about these kinds of things, because these systems really help me in how I'm learning how to do these things efficiently and in a fun way. You can come check out the new music teacher support and community space. It's a group on Facebook that I have. If you're watching, that I lead and help engage people in some of these topics of conversation. If you're watching from that group, I'm so glad you're here. Go check out the guide section, and I did a giveaway post this morning. So go see what you should do to be involved in the giveaway drawing for this week. And if you're not watching from the group, there should be a link in the description of this video, so you can pop over there and check it out if that's for you. And if not, no big deal. But I want to let you know again, there's an training coming up pretty quick called the Ins and Outs of Informances. An informance is basically just like a parent-child music class day. And I love doing these. So I just wanted to let you know, I incorporate some of these activities into what I do with informances. So there'll be more information and more training on how to do some of these instrument things in an efficient and fun and in a way that you can involve parents too. So check that out. There's a bonus that's in that, and you can check out the my website should be in the description of this video. There's a link on my website at the top under courses, so you can read more about the special bonus and what's involved with that, if that's something of interest to you. But I enjoyed talking with you about this. Let me know if you try some of these things, or if you have a system. Let me know how your storage system works, because I'd love to learn how different people have things set up. I know some people have their ukuleles in tubs, and so they pass them out a little differently. But creating a system is what is most efficient, so you can teach your students that routine and that system and maximize your time. So have a great rest of your warm, cozy Wednesday, and I hope to see you again tomorrow morning. Bye for now.